you guys, welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show. We are joined by our friend Trent Hickman with Park City Stand-Up Paddleboarding. And Trent, you know, we've just been really upset because ski season is coming to a serious end, but it's when we're talking about things like this that kind of make that transition a little bit easier for us. And we're so excited to have you back here. I mean, we were talking to you since the beginning when you guys have started, and now you've come a long way.
Yeah, it's been a fun growth process, and we're excited to keep expanding the SUP love and the Aloha through Park City.
Nice. Well, let's give folks a little bit of background first. I know we've talked about it before, but it's been a while since we've had you back here. What got you started into this, and a little bit of your background when it comes to stand-up paddleboarding?
Let's see, so I got into stand-up paddleboarding. I had been living in Costa Rica for half the year, and then coming back to Park City. And someone knew that I was a surfer, and Bob and Betsy Reisner, some local SUP enthusiasts, took me out on the water for my first experience, and I kind of instantly knew, wow, this is great. It ties me back into surf culture, and it's fun, it's fitness, and I kind of instantly knew I was going to do something with it, and so I started out doing tours out on the Jordanelle Reservoir, and since then we've just kind of grown a little bit each year.
Well, I'm so pleased if you guys are doing so well, and I even just recently, as I've been scrolling through your website, you guys offer so many different things. You have classes, you have the tours, you have sales and rentals, all of that, and a lot of great events happening this summer that we're going to talk about a little bit. But let's first go through the actual technique of stand-up paddleboarding, because I think there's a misconception that, oh, I can just get out there and just do it. But there is a serious technique required for it.
Sure,
what's that involved?
There's definitely some technique, and I'll use you, and just kind of we'll start it like, so let's start with hand positioning. So when you hold the handle in this hand, like this, and then we're just going to get good hand spacing. So rest that paddle gently on your head. So kind of what you're after is around 90-degree angles in your elbows, okay? All right. So you can see that's a decent amount of space between your hands, right? If this was a shovel and you were going to try to, let's have you hold it like a shovel. If you were going to try to scoop my foot up off the floor and you had one hand on the handle and the other hand was really close, you wouldn't have very much power. Right? So if your hand is down here a little closer to where you want your energy to transfer to, you have a better efficiency of stroke. So good hand spacing is the first fundamental. So
what's next?
So the next thing we'll have you do is just step onto this this glide kiki board here.
And this is a kid's board, right?
Yep, this is the glide kiki, Hawaiian for kids. Yep, it's a super fun little board, very durable. And then we want the blade to actually angle away from your body, okay? So with the blade angled properly, you get a little better reach out in front.
And at what point, is this okay where I'm standing?
Yeah, you want your feet kind of, the handle on most boards is a very good general reference point for body positioning, and then you just want a nice athletic stance, maybe shoulder width apart. Okay, perfect. And so with that blade angle there, you get a better reach, right? If it's turned the wrong way, you can't reach quite as far. And then the other thing that blade angle does is it keeps the paddle stroke productive to about your feet, right? So what I mean by productive is if you're driving water this way, your board and your body are being propelled that way, right? Anything past your feet and you start scooping water up and out, and that's kind of counterproductive. It's kind of a waste of energy. And if you have that paddle turned backwards, really quickly,
this is naturally the way I would think you would do it.
Almost everyone does when they start out, because it's kind of like you're cupping and scooping with your hand.
You're like, oh, I'll go faster that way, but no.
But you have a shorter stroke, and it's almost, you know, you can't even get to your feet before you're driving energy up and out of the water. Right. So the next thing we want to do is look at having your top hand sort of right over your bottom hand, right? And what that's going to do, it's going to give you a little bit of shoulder stack where your right shoulder comes up over your left shoulder a little bit, but it's also going to keep this blade nice and straight in the water, right? If you get into this type of angle, right, which most people start out with because it's more comfortable, you're going to get very few strokes per side before your board starts to turn. Essentially, you've got an angled blade, and it's going to start to turn you, right? So you want to have that paddle nice and straight up and down. So think kind of stacked your hand, like straight up. Like that, okay. And then as you plant the paddle in the water, you want to get the whole thing in the water, the whole blade in the water, and then pull, right? And so as the paddle goes into the water, your abdominals engage.
And that's where the work comes in.
You know, your feet are on the board, your hands are on the paddle, energy is traveling from your hands to your feet. That's why the board moves. So you want to keep the body nice and snug, a little bend in the knees. Those arms are relatively straight, tight core, pulling from the hamstrings, the glutes. It's going to work everything in that kinetic chain from your hands to
Nice.
your
And
feet.
you do lessons like this. Describe how that works. Do you do these group, individually? How are you set up like that?
So we offer several paddle clinics throughout the summer. Those are on our calendar on our website, but we can do an hour lesson up in Deer Valley where we operate. And that's kind of a nice place to learn because there's no motorboats, there's limited wind exposure, you've got the great food at the Deer Valley Grocery Cafe. It's sort of a nice environment. I call that the green run. You can also come out to the Jordanelle with us for a 2-hour lesson and tour. We like to take people out in the morning or the evening when it's nice calm water. That's the blue run because you are exposed to boat waves and there's wind potential. And then if you want to try to learn how to go down the river, we'll also do lessons out on the Weber River.
Which is pretty fun. When I found out about this about 2 years ago, I was like, what, you do this on the rivers? This is crazy.
Yeah.
You have some crazy people when I say crazy, I mean that in the best possible way because it looks like a phenomenal time doing that on the river.
The river is definitely the black run. And you want to have a little bit more experience on the river. With that being said, we can keep people in the calmer sections of the Weber River and take out when the water gets a little rough. And if you're ever in Moab, boy, the Colorado River is just amazing to paddle. And sections of the Colorado are as calm as the Jordanelle and the Deer Valley ponds. It's
pretty great.
Really nice. But yeah, we do private lessons, we do group lessons, we have kids camps, ladies clinics. I even offer instructor certification clinics. So if you're interested in becoming a World Paddle Association certified instructor, you can come out and get certified with us for that too.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, you mentioned some of the gear that we've got here. What else is here on the floor?
Okay, so we've got, let's just go over paddles since you've got that. So this is the Quick Blade flyweight. This is a kind of a lady specific or smaller paddler specific paddle. The blade head on this one is 83 square centimeters, okay, and compared to this one, this one's 100 square centimeters. Okay, this is the Elite Race paddle. So a couple things on paddles. The stiffness of the shaft is important to think about, and the size of the blade head, in addition to sizing it to your body. But if the blade head is too big for your body and your strength, it's kind of like being in too heavy of a gear on your mountain. So
this would be completely counterproductive for me to try one of these.
It wouldn't. If you were buying your own paddle, you wouldn't want to start here.
Right.
Right. It's like lifting a 30-pound dumbbell. There's only so many times you can do it before you start to fatigue. And with too much paddle blade, your stroke rate through the water is going to be a little slower, right? Because you're pulling a lot of resistance.
Yeah.
And so your heart rate's not going to get incorporated into the activity. And you want to have that nice balance between cardiovascular output and muscular output. So sizing the blade head is important, and then the stiffness of the shaft, right? So this paddle's got a little flex to it, which is good if I'm starting out, right? That means some of my energy is lost in flexing the paddle, but on the other end of the paddle, some of the energy is not hitting my shoulder and elbow too hard as I'm starting out. This paddle it's a full carbon fiber Elite Race paddle, and so it's got almost no flex to this, right? And so if you're tuned up and you're ready to go get out there and get after it and you've been practicing, this is going to be a really efficient transfer of your energy. Right?
Nice.
So the next thing we can talk about with paddles is length. So if you put your hand up straight in the air.
Of this?
Yeah. So kind of what you're after with paddle length, the general rule of thumb is around where the wrist folds, right? So that'd be a good paddle length for you.
Okay.
So these paddles, as you can see, they're fixed paddles, right? So when a paddle comes to our shop, it comes with a full shaft, and then we'll size it to the individual and cut it down. As opposed to sort of one of our rental paddles, we can adjust this handle length, right?
Oh, nice.
And size it to a variety of paddlers, right?
Perfect.
So that's kind of a nice 101 on paddles.
That's pretty great. Well, you have some pretty phenomenal events going on this summer. One being on June 6th, the Paddle.
Yeah.
And tell me about this. This is, like you said, one that people get pretty excited about, and you're expecting a decent crowd. But
yeah,
what's involved?
We should have a good turnout. So the Paddle is our version of a triathlon, if you will. So. We start out with 5 miles on the paddleboard. It's an out and back. We start at the Rock Cliff entrance of the Jordanelle State Park, okay? So out to the main channel and back is 5 miles, and then we get off our paddleboards, get onto your mountain bike, and there's a fun trail that traces the perimeter of the Jordanelle Reservoir for mountain bikes. So you get off your paddleboard onto your mountain bike, and you go out 5 miles, with 1,500 feet of vertical change, and you come back 5 miles.
Who came up with this idea? Was that all you? You're like, I'm guilty. I'm the guy that you can come after if you do it. You're like, oh my gosh. But it sounds like so much fun.
It's totally
like the
fun.
challenge of that is just incredible.
It's totally cool because you kind of cook on the paddleboard, then you fry your legs on the mountain bike, and then you get off your mountain bike. And the last leg of the event's nothing like the first leg because you've now fried your legs on the mountain bike, pushing yourself on the race course, and you've got to balance and stabilize for another 5 miles on the paddleboard. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, totally.
And it's at Jordanelle State Park. How do we go about registering?
So if you want to register, you can go to parkcitysup.com and register for the event there. You can also break it down into a team event if you don't want to solo. So you could have one paddler and then a peddler and then another paddler, or one person who does both legs of the paddling.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I like that. I like it when they break it up a little bit, kind of like Running with Ed, you know, the big race happening here. I like it when they incorporate the team aspect, so that's really relatable to any skill level, I think, which is what's so great about it.
It's camaraderie. You can solo it, and if you solo it, I think it's kind of like running a marathon. You're proud that you finished. You record your time, and you come back and go again next year.
Excellent. Well, what else do you got going on this summer?
So we've also got the Park City SUP Festival. That's happening on June 20th and 21st. So that's essentially just our celebration of life in, on, and around the water. We're going to have free group SUP yoga sessions in the morning. Marine Products is pulling out a boat or two, and they're going to help us with a surf contest we're doing. So we'll have a SUP wake surf contest in the morning. Then we'll do kids races, elite races. We've got a co-ed tandem race, a guy and a girl standing on one board paddling together.
Nice.
We're going to have live music, food. The Park City Sailing Association is going to partner into our event, and so when the wind kicks up in the afternoon, we'll do some sailing lessons and demos. I've contacted another Utah company, Torchlight Paddles. They've got these really cool paddles that have LED lights shining light out of the blade head.
What?
So yeah,
that sounds so much fun.
We'll do a nighttime paddle, and then Sunday morning we'll have some more surfing and a distance race.
Wow, you guys have a busy summer planned out for you. And before we let you go, we have about 1 minute left. I want you to tell me real quickly about the differences between some of your boards here. This is a pretty phenomenal one that you brought here this morning.
Yeah, this board is super cool.
First of all, it's pink. That's why it's amazing to me.
You might like the pink, yeah. It comes in pink, blue, and purple. This is the Lakeshore Betty board. It's made in Tahoe, constructed right here in the United States of America. It's hollow carbon fiber, so go ahead and pick that up. So this board weighs under 20 pounds, so it's super light.
Pretty light.
Yeah, super light, which is important when you're putting it on and off your car.
Sure.
You know, the goal with this board from the manufacturer was to give a board that ladies could easily get on and off the car.
You put some of your gear right there.
Yep, you got a little tie down for it. You see it's got the pointed bow on it. I'm not sure. Yeah, you can see that. So this is going to cut water really nicely. So it's going to carry energy, right?
Nice.
So I call the touring and race boards, I liken them onto skate skis or cross-country skis where you're going to kick and you're going to get a little glide, right? And then we have the rounded nose board here on the Kiki, which is great for surfing and fitness and just kind of casual cruising. This board here is the Glide Kiki. Like I say, it's made right here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm really excited to be partnering up with Glide and having them involved in our event.
Excellent. Well, Trent, thank you so much for being here this morning. Where can we find out more about what you're up to?
So if you want more information, go to our website. It's www.parkcitysup.com. Our contact information's on there, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.
Very good. Thank you so much, Trent. Nice to have you here as usual. You guys have a fun summer up ahead of you. Be sure to get involved with all the classes, events, lessons, tours, you name it. They've got it going on over at Park City Stand-Up Paddleboarding. We'll be right back with much more coming up right here on the Mountain Morning Show. Don't go far.